We're diving into something that, well, it can feel like a professional landmine. We're talking about GMC rules and your WhatsApp group. Social media is just part of life now, but for doctors, it's probably the single fastest way to run into a professional conduct issue. And it's definitely one of the easiest ways to lose marks on exams like the MSRA, SJT. So to really set the stakes, let's just imagine a classic dilemma. You're scrolling through a closed, encrypted group chat, a space you and your colleagues think is completely private. A friend posts a story. It's funny, but it's detailed. It's about a patient. Okay, no name is mentioned, but the post describes a very rare combination of symptoms, the specific hospital, even the unusual treatment that was given last Thursday. Your colleague thinks they're safe, but is a private group really protection? I mean, is this safe under GMC rules?
That scenario is, without a doubt, the biggest trap in modern medical professionalism. So if there's one sentence you take away from this, it has to be this one. The standard of professional conduct expected of you as a doctor does not change. It doesn't matter if it's face-to-face or digital. Your professional duties apply to all social media interactions.
Okay, let's unpack that because that sounds incredibly strict. Why does the GMC care so much about what's posted in, say, a private Telegram thread?
It all comes back to the foundation to the entire profession, which is public trust. So this topic is vital for three reasons. First, it's a direct line to good medical practice, specifically Domain 4, which is all about trust, honesty, and integrity.
Right, the core stuff.
Exactly. Second, your online behavior, well, it really does impact the public's faith in all of us, in the entire medical profession. If people see doctors being disrespectful or careless with confidentiality online, that trust just erodes. And for you, revising for the exam, this is critical. The most common trap is that false belief that, strong privacy settings or being anonymous somehow get you off the hook. They absolutely don't.
But isn't the GMC being a little overly punitive here? If a group is genuinely closed and encrypted, where's the realistic line? Are they really expecting us to police our friends and colleagues constantly?
I'd say they're being realistic, not punitive. The reality of the digital world is that once information is out there, it's almost impossible to contain. What the GMC expects is simple. They expect you to uphold high standards, both personally and professionally, to act with honesty and integrity, always. Now, if you identify yourself as a doctor online, even implicitly, the safest route is to use your real name. Why? Because what you say is often taken as representing the profession.
Okay, but what about anonymity?
This is the key insight for avoiding risk.
Yeah.
You cannot rely on anonymity. Content that you upload anonymously can, in so many cases, be traced back. We're talking metadata, IP logging, or even just your style of writing. It's not a cloak of protection, it's just a delay.
That traceability factor, that's the key thing to hold on to then. It means the private chat might not be private for long.
Exactly. Those messages can become public.
So, with that in mind, what's the absolute best practice? How do we stay safe and maintain integrity?
It's all built on boundaries and transparency. You have to make sure that any professional communication is honest, it's trustworthy. And if you're going to comment on health issues, you must ensure you have the right context and expertise to, support public understanding and help people verify your claims.
Okay, so if these digital risks are basically everywhere, we need a sort of rapid triage system. What's the absolute first non-negotiable step when we hit a boundary? What comes next?
We can probably think about this as a sort of three-point framework for action. First up, let's call it the immediate redirection, the boundary test. So a patient contacts you about their care through your private social media profile, and this happens all the time. The first step is to immediately, and without engaging, direct them to a proper clinical setting.
That redirection is absolutely vital. You have to signal that separation between your social life and your professional life. It protects you, and it protects the patient.
Right, because you can't manage their care over direct message. Precisely. Next up is the transparency requirement. Let's call it the honesty check. If you comment publicly on health issues, or especially if you're promoting services or products, you must proactively declare any interests.
Like financial ties to a drug company?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Financial ties, commercial interests, anything that could be seen to influence what you're saying. Honesty and integrity mean being transparent.
Okay, and the final point.
This is the professional duty, the escalation point. If you see behavior that crosses a line, and especially if you think a colleague might be putting patients at risk with their online behavior, you have to act.
And acting means what exactly?
It means seeking advice first. Talk to a senior colleague, your defense body, maybe the GMC. And if your concerns remain, you must report them, following your local policy on raising concerns. Patient safety always comes before misplaced collegiality.
That progression makes a lot of sense. Redirect, be transparent, and escalate if needed.
It is. And to help you filter all your digital interactions, let's use a simple mnemonic. I want you to visualize this every time you're about to click send or share. Let's use SOCI ALS is for standards. They are the same as your face-to-face conduct. You're a doctor, whatever the platform. O is for openness. If you're identifying as a doctor, use your real name. Anonymity, as we said, is traceable, and therefore it's risky.
Okay, so let's pause there and connect this back to our opening scenario. The colleague sharing the patient story in the private chat. Which letter of SOCI A L does that post violate?
That is a clear violation of C for confidentiality, and you must watch for the sum of information rule.
The sum of information.
Yes, this is so important. Even with no name, you combine the facts, rare symptoms, the hospital, the date, the treatment, and you can easily identify a patient. So that post, even in an encrypted chat, is a confidentiality breach.
I see. So what's next?
I is for interest. Declare all of your conflicts of interest, financial ties, anything. A is for abuse or defamation. You have to avoid bullying, harassment, or making unsubstantiated comments about colleagues. And remember, defamation laws apply online too. And finally, L is for location or boundary. If a patient contacts you on a private platform, you redirect them immediately to professional channels.
SOCI A L. That's a great framework. Okay, so now let's look at how exam setters use these very rules to build their trickiest questions. What are the common scenario patterns we should look out for? Let's say the first pattern is the identifiable case detail. This is testing confidentiality and that sum of information idea.
Exactly. What's being tested is whether you realize that the sum of the parts equals identification. The best action is to recognize that all those little pieces of information combine to identify someone, so you just avoid sharing them. The temptation is to think, oh, it's anonymized, but that scores poorly because the risk is still there.
Okay, pattern 2. The online critic or bully. This one tests respect for colleagues. You see a colleague being unprofessional online. The best action here is always to treat colleagues fairly and respectfully. If it crosses into misconduct or bullying, you have to use the A for abuse from SOCI A L and follow the raising concerns policy.
Yes, promptly.
Pattern 3, the doctor-endorser. This is testing honesty and conflicts of interest. Usually it's about supplements or some new medical device.
Right. And if you use your professional position to promote something, the best action is always to explicitly state any financial ties or conflicts of interest. Transparency is completely non-negotiable here.
And the final pattern.
The unwanted patient connection. This tests your ability to maintain boundaries. If a patient tries to connect with you or ask for advice on your private profile, the best action is always that active step.
You guide them back to your professional profile or the clinic.
Exactly. Now let's look at the dark side of this, the tempting answers that score poorly. Knowing why they're wrong is crucial for the SJT. So, trap 1, relying on privacy settings. Why does this score poorly? Well, you might be tempted to pick an option that says your privacy settings are sufficient. They are not. The guidance is clear. They can't guarantee confidentiality. Anyone can take a screenshot.
That digital permanence again. It makes sense. Okay, what about trying to use anonymity to voice a genuine concern?
That's trap 2. Posting anonymously to criticize senior staff or management. It scores poorly because it violates that duty of professional candor. It shows a lack of integrity. The professional highest scoring route is to use official channels, the formal complaints procedure, or the raising concerns policy. Then there's trap 3, mixing social and professional content on the same profile. This is just a bad idea. It blurs boundaries instantly. You must show a clear separation between your social and professional relationships.
And the last one?
Trap 4, simply deleting a patient's comment or message and ignoring it.
Right. Why is that not enough?
Because while deleting is necessary, it's a passive, insufficient response. It fails your duty to guide their care. You must take the high-yield active step of redirecting the patient to a formal clinical setting.
That distinction between passive deleting and active redirecting is so important for the exam. Okay, before we wrap up, let's do some rapid-fire action points to really solidify this. You see colleagues being abusive toward a junior doctor online. What do?
You act immediately to address the lack of respect, and you consider escalating if it's impacting professional culture or patient safety.
Okay. You are advertising cosmetic interventions.
You follow the detailed GMC guidance for that specific area. Be honest about risks, qualifications, and never mislead the public.
You're sharing a genuinely educational journal abstract publicly.
You ensure you provide the right context to support understanding and help people verify your claims. Never present your opinion as objective fact.
You're in a private WhatsApp group discussing a complex case without names.
You must maintain absolute patient confidentiality. Remember that sum of information rule, and remember that those messages could still become public. Use secure, NHS-approved channels for clinical discussion.
This has been so clarifying. The traceability and failure of anonymity points are huge. Let's finish with 3 critical takeaways for everyone listening.
Takeaway 1. Your professional standards apply equally to all digital communications. That includes private groups. The platform does not change your responsibilities. Takeaway 2. Never rely on anonymity or privacy settings to protect confidentiality. The risk is in the sum of the information. Assume your post will eventually be public. And takeaway 3. Protect your professional boundaries. Consistently take that active step of redirecting patients who contact you on private platforms back to formal healthcare settings.
The core truth really is that your online conduct must always justify the public's trust in our profession. So a good question to ask is, how well does your digital footprint reflect that today? Keep those SOCI A L checks in mind, and you'll keep your boundaries clear, your practice safe, and those exam scores high.